be screwed. Feel my own adrenaline, yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Cypherfics. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the fourth part of What If Issei, Rias meet BROLY. Special note, this fanfic is written in a masterpiece of Liquid's wrath on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. "What is this?" Isabella asked in fear. I don't know, Carlamine said. BROLY stopped charging up and started to walk again towards Riser's location. The fight raged on between the peerage members and Kaneko was eliminated from being surrounded and Akino was holding her best against the bomb queen. Both lightning and bombs were destroying the battlefield piece by piece as the school was being torn to shreds from all this magic power. Riser was sitting in the gym with his bishop and 4 pawns beside him as he was just relaxing. "Shouldn't we try and eliminate Rias as fast as possible? I think having only a few of our team try and eliminate her won't do the trick," Mihi said. "Rias is on the verge of losing. She only has 2 members left and we have all of ours, so what's the big deal if we're not going at full strength against her?" Riser said. The gym doors were blasted open as a big figure walked in as his eyes landed on Riser. Riser looked at the intruder and saw it was that barbarian. He waved him off as it caught him off guard for a second, but he let his pawns deal with him as he watched on with an amused look. BROLY slowly kept on walking towards him as Mira, Shuriya, Marion, and Burant all rushed him and delivered their attacks against him. The attacks didn't do anything to him. Mira swung her staff down at him, but it broke as it hit his head. She backed away as she was stunned from this. Riser sent out Mihi to get the job done since his pawns can't get it finished. Mihi raised her hand up and started to unleash a horde of magic blasts at him until the whole place was filled with smoke. The 4 pawns backed away from all this. BROLY walked out of the smoke with a few small scrapes. Riser stood up and flew at BROLY and punched him with all the force he can muster up. BROLY's head was to the side a little as his cheek was being pressed against his teeth from the punch Riser gave him. "You BSTRD, you should burn and rot away like every human in this world." Riser flew back as his phoenix wings appeared. He flew back towards him, but his fists were covered in hot flames as he unleashed a fury of punches at BROLY. Riser backed away and tried to catch his breath. Everyone looked and saw that they have never seen anyone in a long time that had to make Riser actually do anything in a fight. BROLY couldn't hold back his anger towards the man as he slammed his fist against Riser's chest at full power, making Riser fly out the gym and going through a few buildings until he finally hit the walls of the arena. Riser's whole body was badly damaged from the attack. He was having a strong time processing what just happened as those 4 pawns and Mihi just witnessed what happened to their king. With a single punch, he was sent flying outside in a flash. BROLY slowly made his way towards Riser. Riser regenerated his body as he felt the wave of pain still lingering from the attack that was sent towards him. Why you? BSTRD. Riser let out a terrifying scream as his whole body was covered in pure orange and red fire. The whole stadium felt the magic power that was radiating insanely from him. Rias never felt Riser go at full power. Deep down, she knew this was bad for everyone. All of Riser's peerage looked towards the location where this insane power surge was coming from. How can this be? A filthy human has harmed a high-class being like myself. You know what, human? When I defeat you and Rias, I'm going to RPE that fallen beach right in front of you as my peerage holds you down, you filthy BSTRD. Riser yelled out as the area around him started to melt from how much hot flames he was radiating. Lord Riser, Ubaluna worriedly said. BROLY stopped walking as the whole area around him started shake. Trees and bushes were moving like crazy from the small amount of Kai he was releasing. He looked at Riser with so much hate and rage that his eyes changed as they were no longer black, but yellow. BROLY's hair spiked upwards as his thighs and biceps grew bigger. The white aura that was surrounding him changed to green and his chest pushed out. BROLY grew in height as he was no longer just tall but enormous. The collar on his neck turned on, and it started to shock him, making him struggle in pain as the electricity surged through him. He ignored the pain as he felt so much anger towards the man for what he would do if he lost to him. Ah! Broly let out a scream as his Kai exploded around him, completely losing himself to rage. He immediately started to run towards Riser as every step he made, a large footprint would be left in the concrete. Broly slammed his fist at Riser's cheek, making Riser hit the barrier. Without giving him any rest, he slammed his foot on his chest, shattering his ribs and making Riser fall to the ground. Riser slowly started to crawl away, but Broly grabbed the back of Riser's neck with one hand as it completely wrapped around it. Broly yelled out again and smashed Riser's face into the ground, disfiguring his whole face. Riser healed himself as fast as possible and blasted Broly's face with fire as he flew up into the air. Broly shook it off and looked up to see him hovering above. Riser's eyes grew wide as he saw him fly up towards him without any wings. He appeared in front of him, and a huge shadow covered him whole as Broly towered over the man. Broly grabbed his leg and flew down towards the ground and started flailing him around and smashing his body against ground. The electricity wasn't stopping as it kept on getting more stronger, but Broly fought through the pain as he needed to destroy this man. Riser was sent flying towards the 4 girls who fought against Broly earlier and saw how badly their king was beaten up. Broly landed in front of them and looked down at them. He unleashed his Kai and started to charge up power. What the hell are you? You're not human at all, Riser said while spitting out BLD through his mouth. He walked past the girls and stood right in front of him. He opened up his hand and a green ball appeared and the sound of charging up energy was heard as Broly was about to blast him into oblivion. But Riser's sister ran in front of him and got in the firing zone. Don't harm my brother anymore. We will forfeit this match. Just please don't harm him anymore, she begged. You told us that you don't harm women, Zulan said. Broly lost all sense of reason as he was completely taken over from his rage. He unleashed his full power energy wave towards them and eliminated the 4 girls with Ravel, but Riser was able to get out of there before he was dust. The blast broke through magic barrier and blew up a statue that was in the arena. Broly gripped the sides of his head and felt the pain come in waves of horrifying pain. He flew directly at the location Riser was running to and grabbed his face with his huge hand. He threw him down to the ground again and slammed his enormous foot on his chest again, but Riser's ribs were now in his lungs as he was having a strong time breathing. His mouth opened up and a green ball appeared in his mouth as he shot it downwards, directly onto Riser and causing an explosion that engulfed them both and destroyed part of the arena with the blast. All of the smoke started to clear as the audience saw that Riser's whole body was missing a few pieces, but he was able to mutter only a few words from the pain he was feeling. Sir, he passed out as the whole crowd was silent from seeing this. Graphia was having a strong time announcing the winner of this match, as she couldn't believe what power she witnessed firsthand. The magic barrier disappeared, and it showed Rias and Aquino together as everyone looked at Broly's location and saw that his foot was on top of Riser. Rias and Aquino couldn't believe that he was able to defeat Riser all by himself. It made both of the girls like the big brute even more. Ah! Broly's Kai exploded around him as the whole arena was covered in a green aura. Penemu flew down towards him as fast as possible. He looked at her with his face of absolute rage and hate as he slowly walked towards her. Broly, calm down dear, it's me. Don't let your power control you sweetie, it's all over. Penemu slowly walked up towards. Rias and Aquino watched as Broly was completely different. They remembered the words he said to them before the match as to why he trained every day. Do you remember what we promised each other before this match? I told you not fly or use any of your powers, but at least you didn't show them your tail. Penemu said the last part quietly as she hugged him tightly. Penemu? Broly said as his eyes flashed from yellow to black until they were finally back to normal. His hair fell back down as his whole body shrunk until he was his original size. The pain he felt made him instantly pass out as he fell directly onto her tips and was sound asleep, making her be caught off guard for a second. You dirty boy, if only you asked, I would gladly give, she said as she was glad he calmed down while she caressed his hair as he was out like a light on her tips. Sirzechs flew down towards the fallen. If a Cotter class fallen has someone like this boy on their side, then I believe tensions between the two factions will grow exponentially. Just remember that you had a pass since you are with him, because if you weren't, then you would have been killed on sight the moment you entered this place. The boy has shown us a lot from this battle, and it intrigues me at what more he can do, but that will be for another time. Take care for now, Penemu. Sirzechs said to her before walking up to his sister. Penemu gave him one last look before teleporting away with BROLY. As soon as both BROLY and Penemu left the arena, the entire stadium was speechless at the sight of seeing Riser Phoenix lose to a lowly commoner. A devil that was well respected and feared at the same time was now lying on the floor unconscious with a body that is entirely deformed in many different ways. Riser's peerage all gathered around him and saw the state he was in. Zulan backed up a little while twiddling her thumbs as she remembered the kind and gentle expression the man she met had towards them, and the expression of a man who was after BLD. She never met a man who was so gentle and kind towards her while not having any lustful or perverted thoughts about her. It made her smile thinking that someone like him exists in this cruel world. Rias and Aquino didn't really have enough time to really react to the whole situation as BROLY destroyed the whole battlefield and defeating Riser. They thought he was no match for the likes of Riser, but he proved them ultimately wrong. Rias couldn't forget that expression she saw on BROLY's face as the match finished. He wasn't the BROLY she remembered, but a ruthless beast. It made her shiver at the thought and sight of it, but deep down, she was grateful to the guy as he saved her from her marriage and was free from his grasps. Aquino was also terrified of what she saw as well, since she also knew that he was holding back a side of him that he didn't want to release. She was also doing the same thing because the other half of her was something she wasn't proud of. But hearing his words made her care for him more since he wouldn't really be disgusted by her nature. This was truly impressive. I never would have thought that I would witness such raw power coming from one boy. He is truly remarkable in many different ways that it makes me jealous that the fallen angels have him under their leash than ours. Having someone as powerful as him could make us more formidable. Sirzechs said as he looked at his sister with a smile. Rias brushed her hair out of the way and looked at him with a serious look. He is impressive, I will give him that. I just won't lose the fact that he is with fallen angels since we truly don't know what he is planning. But I'm glad that he isn't one of the bad ones. Rias smiled, saying the last part. Sirzechs let out a good laugh. My dear sister, are you starting to grow feelings for this boy? He jokingly asked. Rias turned away from him and crossed her arms. Don't be foolish, I may be grateful to him but not attached to him in any way. I do owe him now for saving me from marrying that disgusting man, and I will repay him in some way, Rias said. Sirzechs brought a hand up to his chin. Tell me, Rias, have you ever seen or felt a power like that at all with any fallen angel? I couldn't sense any type of sacred gear or seen any on him at all, except for that thing around his neck. Could that have been some type of equipment he used against Riser and his peerage? The Cotter class fallen angel, or simply known as Penemu, didn't do anything to help him out in any shape or form. He intrigues me, Sirzechs said as he lowered his head a little. Rias turned back around and looked at him. I'm afraid not. From the looks of it, and by all the knowledge I have on him, it simply looks like it's his raw talent alone that made him this strong. He is like Cyborg in a way, but able to use magic power, she said. Not only that, he was able to fly without any wings or equipment, and that is something we will have to look into. But in the meantime, just try to know him more and learn about his backstory. Get a little closer with him in school. I heard he goes to the same school as you, so you can easily get to know him while he is there. And maybe you can even convince him to join your peerage, he said. Rias was going to say something, but Graphia appeared with someone behind her. Lord Lucifer, Tiamat is here to speak with you, Graphia said. Rias and Aquino were surprised to hear that Tiamat was here. Tiamat walked past Graphia and greeted Sirzechs. Hello, Sirzechs, I hope you have been well. It has been a while since I spoke with you, she said. Sirzechs narrowed his eyes. Now, why would a dragon king like yourself be here of all places? I'm going to assume that you also felt the devastating power of that boy as well, he asked. To answer your question, I am judge when it comes to rating games and also a referee. What I witnessed just now was something that was entirely new to me since I am well accustomed to a wide variety of magic and sacred gears, but throughout my entire life of knowing many magic abilities, this was something that I have never heard of or felt at all," she said. "How odd. No one knows what type of power he holds, but I know for a fact that whenever he transformed and unleashed that intense pressure, I saw Graphia shaking just from the pressure of this power," he explained, making everyone around him widen their eyes. "The strongest queen was scared of this power?" Tiamat yelled out in shock. Akino for a fact never seen anything like that. His whole body changed and grew bigger as his hair was no longer resting on his upper back, but was spiked upwards. It made her go red a little at how hot and powerful he was. "If I may ask, what do you plan to do with him? He hasn't done anything to offend us or make us go after him. He has shown us what he is capable of," Akino said, wanting to know about the boy's future. "I'm not sure since we can't really go on a whole lot as we don't have a lot of information on him. I guess for now, I will keep tabs on him and see where he goes since I do also have connections with some fallen angel officials as well. I'm gonna go and see what I can find out about this guy and also, congratulations on your victory, princess," Tiamat said while waving her off as she left the arena. "I must go as well. I will spread the news of your victory and announce the wedding off." Sirzechs turned around and walked away with his wife. Zulon approached Rias, making both her and Akino look at the rook in front of them. See, could why you possibly tell me what that guy's end name is?" she asked as she was a little embarrassed asking them about him. Akino leaned down a bit. "Are you talking about BROLY? Why do you want to know his name? Unless..." Akino narrowed her eyes seductively as she said the last part. I just want T to know the name of the man who was kind to me and treated me as an equal than some pawn or SLV. Ada, it seems like my competition is getting bigger and harder," Akino said with a smile. "Akino, what are you saying? You don't plan on trying to sleep with him, are you?" Rias asked. Akino turned around and whispered into her ear. "Who knows, are you getting jealous?" she asked as she walked away from her. Rias blushed a little at the thought of sleeping with a brute like him. She did owe him for saving her from this marriage, and she will pay him back. But to go as far as to sleep with him was just preposterous and ridiculous, as she couldn't believe her friend would say something like that to her. "You must be crazy if I am going to be jealous of such a thing," she said as she saw Akino walk away from her. That weird sensation appeared again in her chest at the thought of that transfer student sleeping with her best friend. She shook it off and looked back towards Zulon. "His name is BROLY," Rias said before leaving the arena as well. Rias and her peerage all returned back to the clubroom as they all saw Kiba sitting down on one of the couches. "Kiba, what are you doing here? You should be resting," Rias said. "Well, I feel better, but a little sore from what he did." "How did the match go? Did you win?" he asked. "Yay, we won and my marriage is called off. But all of the credit deserves to go to the transfer student who saved me from that marriage. I'm glad that you're doing all right now," Rias said as she sat down. Kaneko approached Rias as she had neutral expression. "With that over, what do we do now? There is still that perv that we need to get into shape if we want to have him have more control with his sacred gear. I still don't understand as to why we need that perv on our side since all he does is stare at your boobs and Akino's when no one is looking," Kaneko said with a blank expression. "With time, he should be refined. Since he holds a strong sacred gear, I don't want to toss him aside since there is him and the transfer student who has my attention now after his display in the arena. As long as he doesn't stir up any trouble here at school, then everything should go smoothly without any problems. I hate to say this, but I think we should try and get friendlier with those fallen angels he stays with if we want to know more about his background," Rias said while taking a sip of her tea that Akino brought over. "I think that is a somewhat good idea, but other than him being friendly with the fallen, he does have extremely good grades and always attend class, but the most interesting part of him attending this school is that he has never done a single perverted thing like every male student here. To be honest with you, it took me by surprise since that's how all men are at the end of the day," Akino said with a smile while refilling a cup. The doors opened wide as Sona and her peerage walked in behind her. Oh my, Rias actually managed to defeat Riser. I applaud you for your victory over him, as I didn't expect you with your peerage to be able to defeat him, but in the end, I truly believed that you would have lost to him," Sona said while pushing her glasses up a little. Rias threw her leg over her other and greeted her. "Sona, what an unexpected surprise. You have heard of my victory, so what is it that you want? I know there is some reason for this visit." "Don't be coy with me, Rias. I know you had the help of that new transfer student since word spread around like crazy of his victory over Riser. How did you manage to get him to join you? Do you know what his secret is?" she asked. Rias shrugged her shoulders. "Well, he isn't a part of my peerage, if that is what you are wondering, and I have yet to know what his secret is. All of it is still a blank to me, and that is why I plan to figure out everything about him. We can't just slam questions right into his face about his origin and power. We have to take things slowly and understand how he works and acts," Rias explained. "Rias, you know he is with fallen angels? I don't understand as to why you would try to be friendly with a person who has affiliations with a group of fallens who is our enemy," Sona said. "Well, he isn't just with fallen angels, but with a Cotter-class fallen," Akino filled in. Sona slammed her fist on the desk. "Rias, we are friends and I respect you a lot, but do you know what that means? If he has a Cotter-class fallen backing him up, then this person is of high value to these fallen angels. Don't you see that? Why are they holding someone like him in hiding? What is their end game with him?" Sona asked with slight worry. "If the fallen angels wanted to attack us, they would have done it a long time ago. As for why they are trying to hide him or keep things under wraps is completely out of my knowledge. So that is why I told you earlier that we plan to try to understand his background and origin. Besides, you better now worry about him catching up with you since he is becoming one of the best students in our school, as his grades and popularity are becoming pretty well known." Rias smirked. Sona let out a sigh as she turned around. "We will play it by your rules, but if things escalate too far, then I will take action and do it my way," Sona said as she left the club room with her peerage in tow. Rias leaned back in her chair and looked up at the ceiling. "This is so frustrating." "Don't worry, our questions will be answered in time. It just takes patience and you never know. He may have other secrets that may be useful to us." Akino blushed as she said this. Rias raised a brow at her words. "I hope so." Scene break. Tobio was making his way back to the Grigori to tell the news about Cockabeel's plan, or whoever's plan that was. He didn't want another war to spark up since that could destroy everything and deplete all of the demonic and angelic forces completely. Knowing the fact that Cockabeel would try to do something like this was something he would do since all he cares about his war and nothing else. Tobio quickly moved out of the way as a sword nearly cut him in half. "Ha ha 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 ha, what a surprise, I wasn't expecting anyone to be out so late," a man said as he looked at Tobio with a sinister look. "UBSTRD, I should have known that a snake like you would still be alive," Tobio said. "Well, things completely went south after those fallen beaches betrayed Cockabeel and decided to join the Grigori once again. You should know that so much SHT is stockpiling as we have word that 2 exorcists are coming to town and a goddamn nun is also on her way here. Who knows, we have so many fun stuff to do," the man said as he pulled out his pistol. "Friedselzen, I knew you and Cockabeel would conspire together. I know that you want to re-spark the war again, so you might as well tell me where Cockabeel is before I make you wish you were dead." Tobio activated his sacred gear as a black dog appeared beside him. "Ha ha ha ha, I never expected to meet the legendary Slash Dog himself, Tobio Icus. Things just got more interesting, but let's see how your sacred gear holds up against my holy sword." Fried rushed him and started flailing his sword around without any control, but Tobio managed to dodge it all as his sacred gear tried to jump on Fried's back. Fried rolled out of the way as the dog was covered in blades. "Whoa, if I didn't dodge that, then who knows what might have happened." Fried raised his gun and started to shoot like crazy at him, making Tobio roll away from every shot. His eyes narrowed as he rushed him this time while manifesting a blade in his hand from the shadows. He ducked underneath and cut upwards, making Fried drop his pistol. Fried went for a quick knee attack, but Tobio wasn't able to dodge the attack. As he got hit, Tobio backed away and cut off Fried's hand. The BLD sprayed out onto him as Tobio wiped some BLD away from his cheek with the back of his hand. Well, SHT. Fried slammed his sword down on Tobio as he was able to block the attack with his blade. Jin, do it now, Tobio yelled out. The black dog jumped into the air and shape shifted into a sword that Tobio was able to catch as he was now dual-wielding a blade in his left hand and a sword in his right. Nice little trick, but is that all you go? Fried said while releasing the holy energy of the sword. Tobio backed away as Fried started to chase after him, but Fried was able to knock him down to the floor. Isn't this great? The great Tobio Icus is going to die by my hands, and it makes me filled with happiness that I will be the one that slays you. Time for you to go to the afterlife, you little SHT. Fried raised his sword into air and was gonna slam his sword down onto him. Tobio smiled at him. I think you lost since I got you right where you are. Fried looked down and saw shadows appearing as swords came out of the ground and pierced Fried. Tobio stood back up and looked down at him as he raised his sword into the air as his eyes were filled with a thirst of BLD. A magic slash of holy energy made Tobio dodge out of the way before it could hit him as he tried to see who the new opponent was. What are you doing, Fried? We have plans to finish and here you are slowly dying. You know that Cockabeel wants this finished as soon as possible, and we need you intact when our time comes to take those holy swords away from those two exorcists. The newcomer said. Yay, whatever you say, fat butt. Shouldn't you be doing Cockabeel's dirty work than coming here, Valper? Fried asked the fat butt. Valper Galilei, you also have come to perish as well. This makes my job easier since you two need to tell me where Cockabeel is or I will make you suffer. Tobio said. Don't get too greedy now, Tobio. You may know a small part of our plan, but we have other things that need to be accomplished before all that. When you return, be sure to tell your fallen angel buddies that a new era is coming here shortly, and if they want Cockabeel, they should come get him themselves, then send some small envoy to retrieve him. Say hi to Penemu for me, it has been a while since I seen her beauty. Valper said as he sent another wave towards him as he retrieved Fried and left the area. Tobio clenched his teeth as he slammed his sword against a brick wall next to him. His sacred gear returned back to him as he walked away to go report back and explain his failure at acquiring Cockabeel's whereabouts. He didn't want to pursue the enemy since he really didn't know the full exact force that Cockabeel has, or what type of weapons and equipment he has with him. As he was making his way back to the Grigori, he noticed someone in the corner of his eye. He looked up and noticed someone familiar. Wait a second, you're the kid that Rainier and her group were eyeing. They told us that you have a sacred gear, but they don't know if you unlocked it or not. Tobio walked up to him. Issei was startled by the strange man who appeared out of nowhere. Who are you? You don't go to our school. And how do you know that I have a sacred gear? Issei asked as paranoia was rising up within him. Whoa, chillax kid, I'm not here to kill you or anything. I just heard a lot about you is all. Issei spotted BLD on his hand and face. Are you sure about that? You look like you just killed someone and you are about to kill all the witnesses. Issei said as he slowly started to back up. Tobio looked down and saw BLD on high hand. Oh, well, since you have a sacred gear and know about the existence of supernatural beings, then you should know that this BLD isn't from innocent humans, but from a snake who just won't take the hint and die. Look, you seem like a okay person and all, but I don't know a DMN thing about you. All this sacred gear bullshit and supernatural SHT is hitting me harder than I thought, and I just recently learned about it all. Besides, not only do demonic and angelic beings exist in this world with other beings that I do not want to talk about, but there is this transfer student who completely isn't human and is terrifying just standing next to him. I believe you heard of him, his name is BROLY. Issei said. Tobio's eyes widened as he heard of Azazel's foster son. What do you mean? You haven't heard? He challenged and fought against Riser, who is some big shot in the underworld. Don't know what happened afterwards since I wasn't there to fully witness the fight. Issei explained. Why would he challenge someone such as Riser of all people? I spoke with him here and there, but I never truly got to know him entirely since some really powerful fallen angels are keeping him restrained for some reason. And how do you know this? Tobio scratched the back of his head as he allowed a small chuckle. I sort of live with him. This time, Issei's eyes grew as he heard that the big giant who every male student despises, who is making every girl fall for him with a simple smile and greeting sorta lives with the man that is standing right in front of him. Tell me, and please don't lie to me, is BROLY living with only female fallen angels? Issei asked as his eyes were covered by his bangs. Tobio was confused by this question as to why he would ask this strange question. I guess he does have maids who look after him and follow his orders, as there is also Penemu who is like a mother figure to him. But I believe she has other intentions that I don't want to know about. I mean, I don't really stay around in the house much since I'm out looking for someone. Tobio answered. Issei clenched his fists tightly as he looked up with sadness in his eyes. That BSTRD has his own DMN HRM and he barely did anything? Issei fell to his knees. Tobio laughed nervously. Well then, it's interesting to see it that way, as I kinda just saw it as some recruiting process for him. Anyway, I gotta go, so take it easy, Tobio said as he walked past him. Wait, what's your name? Tobio kept on walking as he looked over his shoulder. Tobio Ikyus, it was nice to meet you, Issei Hyodu. Scene break. BROLY slowly opened up his eyes as the first thing he saw was the ceiling of his own room. The last thing he could remember was him entering the gym and speaking with Riser before losing complete control to his rage. It made him angry and also disappointed that he still wasn't able to get a grip on his powers, as his power just consumes him entirely. But he did make progress lately that this rage and power that he can't control is coming from tapping into the Great Ape power, as his real father told him about the Uzaru when he was only a young boy. He didn't fully understand as to why he could tap into the Great Ape power, since most Saiyans who look at a full moon and transform lose all sense of themselves and become a ruthless killing machine while wiping out every living thing in its way. He knew that if he needed to train this form, he would need to let the power consume him again and try to regain consciousness while tapping into the Great Ape power. But that was something he couldn't just do, since he would hurt the people around him. There was no way of going somewhere else in the world to do it as well, since supernatural beings would all know of him and would try to go after him, or his loved ones. Azazel kept him locked away from these beings who are after power and nothing else, as he fully understood Azazel and where he was coming from. He felt someone on his left side who was using his chest as a pillow. He lifted up the covers a little and saw that Penemu was sleeping right next to him. She felt the movements of his muscles as she woke up and looked up at him to see that he is finally awake. She sat up slowly as she was not wearing any clothes. She put one of her hands on his scar that was on his cheek and caressed it a little. My dear sweet boy, you had me so worried since your head took a lot of damage from the electricity of this stupid collar around your neck. I thought you were never going to wake, she said as small tears formed into her eyes. BROLY realized that he was naked as well, but that didn't matter as he sat up as well and hugged her tightly. I'm sorry. I broke our promise and lost all control of myself, as that Riser guy told me what he was going to do to you if I lost. In that moment, all I could feel was this burning passion of wanting to kill him. If you need to punish me, then I understand, BROLY said. Penemu hugged him back as her head rested against his chest while letting out some tears. You idiot, I don't care if you broke your promise or not. I was extremely worried that you weren't going to wake up, since our doctor told us that your psyche was badly damaged. Besides, you shouldn't be sitting up as you need to get some rest, Penemu said as she tightened her hold on him. BROLY's expression saddened by a lot that he made all the people who care about him worry over him. Did anyone see? No, no one knows about your tail or your background. I had to block off the door to everyone so that they wouldn't come in. Taking off your armor was a pain as well, since you were so heavy to lift up with all this body mass you have. But Penemu stopped crying as she gave a small smile. I guess not everything was bad, since I got a good look at your other tail, and it sure does not compare to any human in this world, she said as her hands loosened up a bit. Penemu, I don't know what I would have become if it wasn't for your love and care for all these years, he said as he started to caress her hair. She didn't care anymore, as she truly loved this big Saiyan who always made her smile and filled her up with happiness when she saw him. She pushed him down on the bed and mounted him, as BROLY was now having front row seats at seeing her glorious big tips right in front of him. I can't hold back anymore. I want to be more than a motherly figure to you, BROLY. I want us to be more connected and to be one with each other. Penemu leaned down towards him as a big blush was on her cheeks as she licked her lips seductively. BROLY wasn't embarrassed or squirming away since his Saiyan BLD and race always were attracted to strong women, and deep down, he felt a connection that was entirely different than seeing her as a motherly figure. I tried my best to hold back, but I just can't. Picasso. I love you, BROLY. Penemu's lips were centimeters away from his lips as the sound of an old man's voice was heard, making her stop dead in her tracks. My. Setting new boundaries for yourself and a new relationship. I must say that you never surprise me, Pen. Azazel said with a big smile plastered on his face as if he won the lottery or something. Penemu was so close to making love with a Saiyan, but the frustration appeared on her face as she slowly sat up and got off of BROLY. BROLY sat up and bowed his head instantly. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to upset you or make you angry for what we were doing. I will take full responsibility for my actions and accept any punishment for breaking my promise to you and for what we were about to do, BROLY said. Azazel stared at him for a second before bursting out into laughter. What are you apologizing for, kid? I should be the one apologizing for PP blocking you. I just ruined your little time with Pen and you were going to experience a whole new sensation to life, so don't be sorry for something small as that. Besides, I'm not mad at you for breaking our promise of showing your power to the devils. How can I be mad at my own son who has lived with me for 13 long years? I should be proud of you since you were finally going to make a move on Pen, Azazel said as he leaned up against the door. What do you want, Azazel? Penemu asked with agitation in her voice. All right, I'm gonna get straight to the point. Tobio returned and briefed me on his findings and everything that Cockabeel is planning. I'm afraid to say that our rogue fallen angel problem might become a problem for both the angels and devils if we don't do anything to stop this as soon as possible. I had Volley sent to go find out more information on these 2 exorcists that are coming to town, Azazel said. Exorcists? That's not a good sign, she said. I know, but that's not all. Tobio also explained to me as well that a nun is also arriving here, and apparently our intel was right. We gotta keep our eyes open for this nun and keep her away from Cockabeel and his schemes. He's preparing for a big war, a war to end the war that we started so long ago. I sent Barakeel to retrieve any additional information on the locations of Freed and Valper. I wish I could be involved in this matter, but I know if I do get involved, the other factions will see it as a threat or show of power. He explained to her. I see. I shall go and retrieve any documents or knowledge on the holy swords and their last known locations, Penemu said as she got off the bed and dressed herself up. We can pick up next time where we left off, she whispered in BROLY's ear before leaving. You should rest up, but if you want to get up and stretch your muscles, I won't stop you. You had me worried when Penemu brought you back as I nearly was about to become like Cockabeel and start a war with the devils for putting you through that harsh, cruel transformation. Luckily, Penemu was able to talk me out of it, but that was the second time that you truly lost control. I'll leave you be, so do whatever you need to do, kid, Azazel said as he gave him a smile before leaving. BROLY got out of bed and stretched out his muscles as he heard small popping noises in his body. His tail was wagging around as it needed it to be stretched as well from being tied up around his waist. He grabbed his blue skin-tight pants off the chair that was cleaned and neatly folded up as he slid the pants on and put his tail through the hole of the pants. He grabbed his white boots with the yellow striping at the toes and put them on. He wrapped his tail around his waist after stretching it and grabbed the towel he kept with him and wrapped it around his waist as he hid the tail underneath it. As he was putting on his clothes, there was a knock at the door, and he walked over to open it to reveal a worried Rainier standing there with Calawarner and Mittelt. All 3 of the girls blushed as they saw BROLY's well-managed upper torso. Rainier, Calawarner, Mittelt, what are you all doing? He asked them. We heard of what happened with Riser as Penemu explained to us about your transformation, Rainier said. BROLY scratched the back of his head as he felt bad about himself for making them worry about him. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you all worry. You don't have to apologize for that. We're glad that you are standing on your feet. If you need anything, just ask us. We are maids, and we have to obey your every command, Calawarner said. Thanks, but you guys don't have to force yourselves. You have lives of your own and want to have time for yourselves, so just go relax. Broly said with a smile. No way, you must be hungry, so come with us and have a decent meal before you do whatever you were gonna do. Besides, you never told me how the food I brought you was. It took me a couple of hours to make it look and taste that delicious. Rainier said as she quickly realized what she blurted out. You actually made that? You have some really crazy Talon cooking skills, Rainier. You should be proud of yourself for making something so delicious. Broly said, making Rainier look away as she didn't want to display her affections at his praising. She was happy that he found her food delicious as she spent a lot of time perfecting her cooking skills to make it look that good. Calawarner walked up to him and grabbed his hand. Come on, we were given orders from Azazel to keep you company and to feed you so that you can regain that strength and stamina you lost. Besides, everyone else has left the house as Danasik left with Penemu while Azazel is doing whatever. Our mission is to stay by your side and to satisfy you and to also do whatever you ask of us. Calawarner said. Rainier grabbed his other hand. Exactly, so we're going to eat first before doing anything else. Rainier said as she and Calawarner pulled him with them towards the kitchen. You don't have to do this, I really mean it. You all have been working really strong and you need time to yourselves. Besides, don't you have someone you would want to meet and love out there? He asked them. No, all three of them yelled out simultaneously. This is your punishment for making us worry, so you will eat up until you are back to 100%. Midelt said. Broly accepted his punishment and sat down at the dining table as all three fallen angels were in the kitchen preparing up a feast for him. He started to ponder on how to control his power without hurting anyone, or making everyone target him or the people he cares about. He will make sure that no matter what, he won't make anyone try to harm the people who have shown him respect and kindness. The debt he owes for Azazel, Barakil, and Penemu is something he couldn't easily pay back, as he will make sure they will always be safe and not have to worry about people like Riser. He let out a small chuckle as he remembered that it was only 13 years ago that he was able to escape the destruction of planet Vegeta. I know you may not be proud of me for not living up to your expectations of how you wanted to raise me, but now, I hope you can see that I have a new family now and I will cherish it forever. But I will promise you that I will avenge you and kill Frieza for what he has done to us. I won't lose to him, father. The next morning came around and Broly woke up. He got out of bed and started to get ready for school. The house was very quiet, and there were no signs of life anywhere in the house. He stepped out of his room with his school clothing on, but before he was getting ready to leave, he heard that Barakil took Rainier, Calawarner, and Midelt for something last night. He didn't mind it if there weren't people in the house. He was used to it at this point while putting on his shoes and made his way straight to school. In his view, he saw that other students were making their way to school as well. The students that were walking in front of him, beside him, and behind him all had someone beside them, while he could hear laughter and a lot of chatter between them. He was always alone when he walked to school. Broly merely smiled at this as he wasn't angry at this, but a tad bit sad to see everyone around him had someone to talk to or laugh like that. Ever since his arrival to Earth, he's been kept in hiding for 13 years, as his only friends he was truly close with were Azazel, Barakil, and Penemu. They never did let him go outside because they provided everything for him like some spoiled child. But he came to understand and listen to them as time passed by. He was gradually being shaped into the man Azazel wanted him to see. Down the road sometime, both of them even started to see each other to have a father and son bond between each other. Azazel was always there for him for teaching, training, and even loving. He also started showing him everything about fighting, cooking, writing, and even the ways to be etiquette in life. But when the three of them left on some mission or some type of meeting, he was left alone for some time where there was no one there. This led him to train harder and harder until he would be able to control his power. He understood fallen angels are deceitful, manipulative, and even destructive as their drive is nothing but lust. Being with them for so long didn't scare him whatsoever. He hasn't noticed anything of the sort because they never lied or did anything out of ordinary to him ever since he started living with them. He will never forget who or what he is because he will always be a Saiyan. He wasn't filled with lustful thoughts like them due to being a warrior since BRTH, But the power of the great ape was something he couldn't just control with ease, as the fallen angels can't control their lustful desires. But that form will make him lose all sense of reason and sanity, becoming nothing but a killing machine. He never transformed into the Usaru form, knowing the fact that he would kill everyone around him. His real father told him when he was only young to use that form when everything is lost, and if most of his power is depleted. It was a last resort if all else fails, as this is how the Saiyans were able to go and conquer planets with ease before selling them to the higher bidder. That is also how the Saiyans rose in riches and power, attracting unwanted attention like Frieza. His fists clenched up tightly as some veins appeared on his face at the thought of Frieza. His eyes quickly flashed yellow from the anger at the thought of the BSTRD, but went back to black as he calmed down. It just showed him the fact that his anger can easily overpower him with ease just at the thought of Frieza. He finally reached the school grounds to see a bunch of students in the main courtyard talking among themselves. As we walked inside the school, someone walked up beside him. Ara, you're finally here." He looked to his right to see that Akino was standing beside him with a small blush on her cheeks with her hands behind her back. "Akino, how are you? Did everything go all right with the riser problem?" BROLY asked her. Of course, the marriage was called off by Sirzechs, while Rias is now open and free for the taking if you want to take the chance to go after her, she suggested to him. BROLY smiled. "I think she had enough on her plate after all that. I have other things I gotta worry about than marriage, as that isn't at the top of my list just yet. But you seem pretty happy. Did something good happen to make you look like that?" BROLY asked her while they both started to walk together. Akino giggled a little bit when she looked up at the friendly giant. "Maybe. I think I might be growing feelings for a boy in this school," she said as she gave a very seductive look at him. "Is that so? Have you told him your feelings yet? You should hurry and tell him before it's too late. This is our last year as third years before we head off to college." "Oh, don't listen to me. I shouldn't have spoken out like that because you have your own life and you should live it like you want to, as it's one of the most precious gifts we people were given," BROLY said as his smile saddened a little. Akino looked at his expression and saw that his happy expression was gone. "No, you're right. This is our last year, but I don't know if the boy I'm starting to like feels the same way about me though. You helped me and given me some advice, so you shouldn't feel sad about that. Besides, after what you did to Riser made me realize something," she said while licking her lips seductively. "What would that be?" "You're very unique, as everything about you is a mystery. I didn't know you had such tremendous power. It makes me and everyone else wonder as to who you are, and that is something that I want to find out for myself. This is something I truly want to try to solve," she said. BROLY scratched the back of his head. "I feel like an open book," he said. "A little bit, but tell me, what was that when you fought Riser? That wasn't anything I have ever seen with my own eyes, because you just became a different person entirely. You lost all sense of reason in your eyes. You just went on eliminating everyone in your path, but with Riser, you completely changed him. I have heard from Rias that he is locked inside of his room right now, while hiding in a corner, screaming in fear," Akino explained to him. BROLY didn't mean to lose his cool as Riser's words pierced his soft heart and unlocked the beast within him. The words he said to him made him want to kill him, then eliminate him. The tapped power of the great ape is something he can't just easily control in weeks or months. This was the ultimate power of the Saiyans. This was their trump card if all else fails, but also it was the form for destroying cities and entire civilizations. It's something I don't want to talk about. What you saw that day was nothing more than a beast who was broken free from the cage inside of me. You and Rias asked me as to why I train constantly, right? And the reason why I train every day is to not to get stronger or try to pick on anyone. It's for me to control that side of me that you and everyone else saw when I was fighting Riser. I lost all sense of reason while I just wanted to rip him apart," he said with sadness. She noticed how his expression changed quickly after talking about what he did to Riser during the fight. She didn't want to bring any of these past problems to him, but he needed to know, as this was something he needed to hear, so that Riser wouldn't go around talking smack to his loved ones. "You know, he isn't the same after what you did. I heard from his mother that when you became that other person, your yellow eyes were engraved into his head, as every time he sees yellow eyes, he starts to panic and becomes nothing but a mess." Akino said. BROLY clenched his fist from how much anger and hate he has for himself. He hated himself because of the fact he couldn't control that side of him while he nearly hurt Penemu when that power was consuming him. Akino looked up at him to see that he was angry, so she instantly reacted by wrapping her arms around his and brought him closer to her. The students all watched to see that the transfer student was now dating the second most appealing girl in the school. They couldn't believe it as he just recently transferred and is now dating Akino Hanjima. BROLY was getting mixed feelings about all this from the students as some of them were cursing and yelling at him. The other half agreed with this couple as they were saying that these were the best couple to come together. His anger resided back when he felt Akino was comforting him in some way. The way she looked at him with those eyes reminded him of how Penemu looks at him as she tries to comfort him, or even try to s-duck him. Ara, are you hearing all this? It seems like the school thinks we're a couple now. I guess we should play along with them and give them a good show to show them that we're a proper couple together. She whispered to him as she was all for it. BROLY couldn't do anything as he just stayed quiet and walked with her arm in arm. He didn't want to offend anyone, so he just stayed quiet to not make the fire hotter. Both of them reached his classroom as he removed himself from her. This is my stop, take it easy, and don't overwork yourself too much when you're with your friend. She is your friend and all, but just make sure to keep her safe and be there for her when she is in need, he said. She was a little bit surprised by his words. I didn't know that you cared for our friendship. That's between you and her. You should keep the most precious things in life close to you, as those are things in life that keep us going, he said before walking into his classroom. Akino just stood there as she couldn't figure him out. It made her wonder how such a young and handsome gentleman was so innocent and pure. He didn't even try to take a peek at her melons or try to do anything dirty to her as they walked to his classroom. She wanted to ask him if he liked the other gender or something, but then it clicked in her as he lives with fallen angel girls. She hated the fallen angels from what happened years ago with her mother and father. She didn't want to speak about her fallen side nature with anyone as every time she looked at it, it reminded her about her father who she truly despised in her eyes. But after meeting BROLY and seeing how he doesn't judge anyone or do anything that would offend anyone, it made her happy that he doesn't find fallen angels distasteful or disgusting. At times like these, she would gladly show her fallen angel side to him, knowing that he wouldn't hate her for it. Out of every boy she has seduced to get what she wants for herself or Rias, this was the one boy in her entire life that hasn't lusted for her in any way. He respected her for what she is and never has judged her in any way. It made her realize in the heat of the moment that she needed to obtain him in her grasps, as other women would take him away from her before she could. Having an honest and gentleman like that would make her life so much worthwhile, and also make all of her worries go away. He was that needle in the haystack for her, as everywhere she went with Ria's men would eyeball her with lust and hunger to ravage her in some way. She watched him walk away from her further and further away until he took his seat. Her lust and want of him were taking over as she slowly licked her finger SXLY and seductively. After carefully observing him and seeing how he treats others made her want to take him all for herself and not share with anyone. But Rias would get mad at her for trying to get together with him. She would honestly tell Rias that she is interested in the boy, but she wanted to keep this a secret from her as she wanted to do everything in secret with him. The thought of doing and hiding something this big from her friend excited her. It was like having an affair. Ara, look at the time. I guess I'll see you later, BROLY. Scene break. The sound of screaming and bones snapping was filled in the air as the people tried to flee away from the monsters who have been slaughtering their people without any remorse or regret. A man with long hair kicked a man straight in the chest before turning back around and blasting a person until their body vanished from his sights. Another man with short hair came in choking the life out of one of them as he slowly descended to the ground right next to his partner. Are you getting slower, brother? I was expecting you to have more kills than me, but it seems like you're slacking off a bit, the man with long hair said. Why should I put in the effort and try against these low-life scum? We've been on the run ever since Prince Vegeta found out about Frieza destroying planet Vegeta, then a meteor destroying it, Raditz. You should understand that we all want to kill that BSTRD for what he did to us all. But we can't fight against him head-on as he has a massive army with the Jinyu force right below him. Raditz clicked his tongue from annoyance. We have been running for so long and killing off Frieza's forces wherever we go. We don't have time to recover and properly think of a strategy, Kakarot. Raditz said as he slammed his fist into one of Frieza's troop face. Are the two of you done talking? We have to hurry before that BSTRD sends more troops. I don't want to stick around when the Ginyu force arrives. Nappa said as he flicked his 2 fingers into the air, and a massive yellow light appeared under a big chunk of the Frieza force as it exploded, killing them all who was in the circle of the yellow light. Kakarot jumped back with his brother and stood side by side with Nappa as their hands were all raised and lined up in a row. Kai started to charge up as all 3 of them shot their energy waves at the troops, blowing them up as they couldn't get near the Saiyans. The smoke cleared up after their triple tag team energy wave and saw that there were only a few survivors as they were bleeding out, or just badly damaged from the attacks. Nappa walked up to one of the troops who were on the ground and picked him up with one hand. How did you find us? What is Frieza planning now? Nappa asked him. But the soldier didn't say anything as he just let out a small laugh. Nappa didn't want to be dissed like that as he was about to snap the neck of the soldier before Kakarot stopped him. Wait, why should you kill someone who has lost already? He has no one to back him up in this time of need as he knows he is nothing but completely useless in our eyes. You're always going straight to killing. Why don't we torture the BSTRD to get some information on Frieza's plans and how he managed to find us? Kakarot explained to him as Nappa let go of the soldier. Raditz instantly stomped on the soldier's chest as he spat out BLD, making the ruthless Saiyan continue his stomping as he was starting to enjoy the expression he was seeing. Kamawoon, let's hear you talk back now, you worthless piece of trash. You're a part of Frieza's army and you can't even say anything or even laugh at us. You're nothing but space trash. Raditz said as he continued stomping on him. Nappa just smiled as he watched, while Kakarot just stared down at the soldier with a bored expression. You DMN idiots think some soldier will tell us how they found us. They are nothing but loyal dogs to a BSTRD who stole my birthright away from me. They found us by the scouters that we received from Frieza himself. Vegeta said as he slowly descended towards the ground with his arms crossed. Nappa turned towards him as he was shocked to hear that. The scouters were being tracked this whole time? No wonder why we haven't been able to escape that BSTRD and his grip for the longest time since we needed to rely on these for communication and coordinates. Nappa said as Vegeta landed on the ground and walked towards the 3 Saiyans with a nonchalant expression. He stood in front of the soldier as he lowered his hand right in front of him and annihilated him in point-blank range. The 4 Saiyans all turned around and started to walk towards their pods as the burning city behind them was set ablaze as bodies were everywhere. Remove the scouters and destroy them, Vegeta said as he took his off and crushed his in his hand. Everyone followed Vegeta's example and crushed their scouters. With us destroying our scouters and killing off more of Frieza's soldiers, where do we go from here? Raditz asked the group. I heard many talks among Frieza's men when we were a part of his force that Earth was a planet filled with lower life forms that are technologically advanced, but their people are horrendously weak. They never bothered to go and take it as what would be the point in having people who are worthless and unable to fend for themselves. We could head there to recollect our bearings and think of a proper strategy. Kakarot explained. Dear brother, when did you get the time to think of all this? Raditz asked. Why do you think I have been getting lazy with all the constant killing as it's getting boring doing the same thing over and over again? Besides, I didn't want to listen to that BSTRD while also obeying his command anymore because he took our mother away with our father as well. Kakarot said as his expression hardened. Raditz smiled at his words. You're getting soft just like our mother, Kakarot. Kakarot ignored his words as he just kept walking forward. Vegeta clenched his fists as he was resorted to running away to get a decent plan to use against Frieza as he knew himself that he wouldn't be able to take on the whole Frieza force and the Ginyu force. I can't believe that throughout my entire life, Frieza would lie right into my face about what happened to my planet. I was destined to become king and rule over the Saiyans, but everything was taken away from me as we are now running away from him to think of a plan. I'm a super elite Saiyan, the prince of all Saiyans, and I am stained with this humiliation. Vegeta said with distaste. If we can find more Saiyans that have escaped the blast, it would help us more to take that evil tyrant down, Raditz said. Nappa gave a good laugh at that. You must be crazy if you think any other Saiyans survived that attack. Other than Prince Vegeta's brother, Tarbal. There are no other Saiyans that have survived because we have searched for the longest time as no other Saiyan is alive. It's just us four for now as we have to find a way to survive before Frieza finds us again. Nappa said. Why don't we just fight off the Frieza force with our great ape forms? We would be able to take him on with that. Raditz said. Brother, did your screws get loose? We can take on the Frieza force with no problem. But what happens when Frieza takes action and joins the fight? He is leagues beyond us as he could easily maneuver through us as we would be just giant slow-moving apes in his eyes. Besides, that's not the only thing that we should worry about as Vegeta found out that Frieza's current form isn't even his true form. If he can radiate that much power in his standard form, then think about how much power he would have in his other form, Kakarot explained to his brother. At least there is someone in this group who has a sense of reason, Vegeta said. Come on, brother. We grew up together and you still can't figure out the basics, Kakarot talked down to his brother in a jokingly manner. Raditz looked away from him with a stern face. Flashback. Yes, after so long, I finally managed to join Prince Vegeta's squad. A young Kakarot said as he returned home to see his mother cooking food. Jin turned around and saw her young boy extremely happy to have finally proved his worth to the prince as he trained every single day to get stronger like his older brother. As a mother, she felt proud to see her son be accepted into the same group with his older brother. Kakarot, come here. Was the test strong for you? I know you want to follow in your brother's footsteps as he also had a strong time joining Prince Vegeta's team. Jin said. He did as his mother told him. He looked up at her as she could see that he looked identical to his father. You shouldn't be too prideful like the prince because you should just follow your path, and always listen to your older brother at all times. I know that I won't be able to see you much when you leave with Prince Vegeta on your first travel to a foreign planet. She said to him as she fixed his Saiyan armor that was similar to his brother's. The door opened up as another person walked into the small house. Jin looked up to see who it was and saw that it was Raditz, who rarely shows himself at home. Raditz, what are you doing? I thought you were with the prince. Raditz crossed his arms as he looked down at his younger brother. I had to come back to see if Kakarot is a part of Vegeta's team now, he said as he smiled, signifying to his brother that he was above him. You want to fight me? I'll show you how much stronger I have gotten. Kakarot was about to start charging up, but his mother hit him on top of his head. There is no fighting in this home, you understand? Kakarot let out a groan as he fully understood his mother's words. Good, now Kakarot, go and look for your father and tell him about the good news, she said as she saw him leave the house. Raditz followed suit and was about to leave, but Jin stopped him in his tracks. Raditz, can you do me a favor? She said as Raditz turned around and saw an expression on his mother he hasn't seen at all. He was strong and held his own against anything that came his way as nothing surprised him, or made him feel down in any way. But now, he was seeing something that made him only stare in shock as he saw his mother look at him with the gentlest and saddest eyes he has ever seen. It looked as if she was about to cry if he wouldn't say anything to her. Why, yay, what is it? He asked as he kept his stern expression. No matter what, please protect your younger brother no matter the cost or consequence as one day you will be the only person he will have in his life, Jin said. Raditz turned around to look away from his mother as his bangs covered his eyes. He never wanted to be this weak as this was a weakness that would destroy him if he started to open up his heart like how his mother does. He always trained and grew to be the best or to become better than his father one day as he needed to reach the top to become a super elite. Yay. I'll keep him away from danger such as that bstrd, Frieza, he said as he left the house. End flashback. Raditz shrugged off this memory that appeared in his head as he gave a glance towards Kakarot. Whatever you say, brother. Just don't get in my way when things get too crazy, he said. Kakarot smiled at that. Always trying to prove that you are the better one, huh? We will see if that is true when we fight against Frieza and his men, Kakarot said. Will the both of you shut up? We need to get to Earth before Frieza's men arrive. It will take us about 30 days to get to Earth, so let's get a move on as I grow bored of being on this useless planet as its past inhabitants were all weak and didn't prove to be any type of challenge. I grow tired of all these weaklings as they are nothing more than ants in my eyes. We Saiyans have to uphold our heritage as ruthless warriors because this is how we grow and learn from experience. Vegeta said as they all arrived at their pods. Nappa gave a good laugh. Why don't we just take this planet Earth's women and breed with them? We could begin a whole new Saiyan race on this planet and bring the fight back to Frieza with a new breed of warriors. Nappa suggested as the pod opened up. Nappa, that would take years upon years until the planet is filled with a decent amount of Saiyans to fight off Frieza. Although, half-breed Saiyans are stronger than us pure ones. But why should we breed with weak creatures like them? Kakarot just told us that the planet Earth is far in technological advancement, but its inhabitants are utterly weak to the bone. What's the point in breeding with these useless creatures as we Saiyans are only attracted to strong women, not useless ones? Vegeta explained as he entered his pod. Raditz entered his pod as well as the door shut closed. Besides the point, who has time now to do something like that? Nappa? Are you that lonely after all these years of not having that women's touch? Raditz asked him through the calm system in the pod as he let out a laugh. He didn't say anything as the pod doors shut as all of the Saiyans were in their pods. The pods lifted from the ground and started to take off as they all headed towards Earth. Hey, Vegeta, Kakarot said. What is it? I know you have heard of planet named Dragonball as they will grant any wish to the person who summoned the dragon. Maybe Frieza plans to go there to get his wish as this is what his secret plan is that his soldiers won't say. Kakarot explained. Vegeta didn't say anything as he gritted his teeth and clenched his fists at thought of him wishing for immortality or to gain unlimited power. Then we should hurry and get ready for the upcoming battle with him then. We're running out of time as he will probably be making his way to Namek right now, so let's cut the chatter here as I don't want to talk about him anymore. Vegeta said as he shut off his communication with the other pods around him as he kept his stern expression while looking out into space. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 5. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Liquid's Wrath on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video, till then goodbye.